Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thanks so much for joining us for another Power to Fly Chat and Learn virtual event. My name is Meg Alexander. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am incredibly excited to get to host another amazing event with Rachel Serwetz from Woken. Today, we're going to be talking about career clarity. What is it, and do you have it? Now, as we dive into today's event, just want to real quick flash our code of conduct on the screen. This looks like a big scary wall of legalese, but what it boils down to is don't be a jerk. Okay. As long as we operate from a place of kindness and respect, it's pretty hard to go wrong from there. But if you have any further questions, you want details on this, maybe you just want to clear, like, hey, I want to say some stuff, type it to me. I'll let you know if you're good to proceed or not. All right. You can always find me, Meg Alexander, in the drop down in your Zoom group chat. You can DM me directly there. Or if you have any further questions or you want more details on this, you can always write to our help desk inbox. That email is hi at powerfly.com. All right, now diving into the main event today. I am so incredibly excited to see so many new faces today. I do want to very much encourage y'all to turn your cameras on if you'd like to share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely. But there is no need to look Instagram perfect, okay? In case y'all can hear, I'm a little under the weather. We're on day like three, maybe four of the dry shampoo messy bun combo. So whether you are coming to us from your living room couch or a corner office makes no difference to us, okay? Ball gown or three-piece suit or bathrobe makes no difference. We just want to meet you where you are so that we can all learn together today. Now, if you do want to participate, but you don't want to do so with your camera, that is fine. You are not hurting my feelings at all. You are always welcome to chime in the chat if you'd like. I also want to encourage y'all to dive in there and let us know where you're joining us from. I'm coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. This is land that belonged to the Fox, Kickapoo, and Potawatomi tribes in my area. So if you'd like to let us know where in the world you're joining us from or whose land you're on, please feel free to share that with us today. Now, we are recording today's session, and what that means for all of you is we don't have to take notes. We get to sit back, relax, enjoy the conversation that I'm about to have with Rachel, and not worry if you miss a resource that was shared or some advice that was given. So, what that means is everybody that registered for today's event, even if you joined us or not, everybody is going to get an email from Powerfly in about 4 to 5 business days. It's going to have a link to where you can rewatch this recording when we post it live on powerfly.com. Now, if you've never been to powerfly.com before, I definitely recommend you check it out. But in case that you hear something today so unbelievable that you cannot wait 4 to 5 business days to share this recording with people, you don't have to. You can always head over to our YouTube channel. We're live streaming right there right now. Hi, YouTube. And you are welcome to dive in there. You can grab the link. This video will be posted usually by the end of business today. And from there, you'll be able to share any of the amazing stuff that you heard from Rachel today. Now, there's also a bunch of our kind of, best of, some of our favorite greatest hits are stored in that chat and learn page on YouTube. But I very much encourage you to check out our website. That is where the full mother load, all of our free resources live there. We want to put them in as many people's hands as possible. That is how we think we're going to move the needle and get to see the workplaces that we really want to see in life. So please feel free to explore there, check out our YouTube channel, check out our website, and make sure that you are taking the most advantage of all of those free resources. Now, if you have questions in the chat today, we absolutely want to hear them. Obviously, y'all took your time out of your day to spend here with Power to Fly and Woken, so we want to make sure that that time is well worth it. Please feel free to ask any questions you have. You can send them in the group chat. If you have a question that you want me to raise, but you want to be kept anonymous, not a problem. Just DM it to me. I am happy to ask your question and keep you incognito. Now, as we go through today's event, I do just want to highlight real quick, in case this is your first Power to Fly event, welcome. We're very happy to meet you today. Even if it is your 40th, I'm so happy to see all of y'all back here with us. Now, in case you're not sure of Power to Fly, who we are honestly, I think we're a fabulous company. We are a women-led company. We're backed by Morgan Stanley with over 200 million plus professionals in our network. Our mission is to help organizations to attract top talent and retain engaged employees with solutions that simplify recruitment, enhance employee satisfaction, and drive long-term business success. And we want to make sure that you all have the tools in your toolbox to find that next great fit for yourselves as well. Now is where we bring Rachel into the picture. Now, Rachel Serwetz is a CEO, founder, and career exploration coach from Woken. Her early professional experience was at Goldman Sachs in operations. She also worked at Bridgewater Associates in HR. From there, Rachel was trained as a coach at NYU and became a certified coach through the International Coach Federation. Now, after this, she worked in HR research at Aon Hewitt and attained her technology MBA at NYU Stern. Now, throughout her career, Rachel has helped hundreds of professionals with career exploration, and for the past 8+ years, she has been building her company, Woken, which is an online career exploration platform to coach professionals through the process of clarifying their ideal job and career path. Now, Rachel has also served as an adjunct professor of entrepreneurship at Binghamton University and as a career coach through the Flatiron School slash WeWork through Columbia University and Project Activate. Now, you can learn more about Woken at iamwoken.com, but I think you will learn the most by talking to Rachel herself. So, Rachel, welcome to the floor. I am so, so happy to get to share the stage with you once more. What else should our audience know about you? Oh, how did we unmute you? I am so sorry.
All good. I'm here.
You
No,
did
this
so
was a
good.
wonderful intro. I think you'll learn a lot more for the rest of the conversation, so nothing really to add. But yeah, thanks for getting us started.
All right. Now we have a bunch of questions that we're going to go through, a lot of stuff that we want to talk to Rachel about. But like I said, if you have questions, if you want to chime in on the conversation today, please, please feel free to weigh in. Let us know, let me know in the chat what you'd like details about. If you want us to dive in deeper on something, please, 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 y'all, let us know. We want to make sure that the time that you spend with us today is worth it. So, Rachel, first off, let's talk about career clarity. How can you get that real clarity, especially if you are considering a pivot? If you are somebody who is maybe good at multiple things or even just drawn to different paths. I've literally never been able to pick just a single hustle like lane and stick in that. So how do you approach people? Where do you start the conversation?
Well, of course, there are such things as portfolio careers. So, like, if you want multiple paths or multiple gigs, I mean, right, sometimes somebody is like, yeah, I want to do multiple things part-time. Or if you're like, I want something full-time, then your question is, what role would be the best blend of my skills and interests, right? And that's where exploration comes into play. I think a lot of people think, oh, yes, I have these multiple options and they all could be relevant to me. But a lot of people don't know, how do I get to the finish line of being confident in which one of those options is the best for me. So a lot of people go into job search and they're like, oh, there's these two or three or four or five different roles and I have so many resume versions. I would encourage that person to really push and stay in a space of learning and reflection to prioritize which one is the best fit for them. So, a lot of times it's this counterintuitive myth of like, if I have so many options, I'll have more. Yeah, if I have so many options for direction, I'll have more job options or job opportunities. I find it's usually the reverse, where when you have so many versions of yourself and your story, it sometimes can slow you down and it can be confusing and stressful and overwhelming. So it's good to have multiple skills. But, the question is, where does that add up? Because any one role will need complementary skill sets, right? So, for example, I was just chatting with somebody about, working in sort of that AI tech space. And it's like, I have tech experience, I have career coaching experience, I have experience in HR and operations. There's a lot of multifaceted things here, but where is it all going? What's that headline? What's that story? What role would make sense with the blend of those skills, right? So, and I think people underestimate the level of learning you really need about the differences between these roles, because it's like you think you could pursue three to five different things, and yeah, you could be good at them, but I think when we pursue so many, yeah, sometimes we underestimate how different they really are and who are they looking for when they're trying to hire for that role, and which one are you the best fit for. Now, if you're trying to make a pivot and you're like, maybe it's not an obvious fit right now, but I want to push into something and I want to really get there, then you're creating a plan, right? So you still need clarity, but then you're kind of like, what are my skill gaps? How do I build relevant new experiences and new skill sets and then showcase that on my branding? So that's, a methodical pivot, but it always starts with clarity and being confident enough to be, narrow. I always say it's like narrow and wide. Don't feel like you're limiting yourself just because you're clear. If you're clear, it's actually can open up such freedom of stress, but also the branding is so clear, it's so obvious, your story just sings. And, interviews and networking just feels better, right? Because if you're like shape shifting to be whoever that person wants you to be, it's exhausting in the job search when we're doing that. So
And
really
don't tell me
push
my business
yourself to,
like
yeah,
you know what I've done in my past. Like I
yeah.
have like, shape shifted in every interview I've ever been in. Like, oh, don't you put my business out there, Rachel. Rude.
But that's
No,
what interviews feel like sometimes. It's like
it
they're
really
asking
is.
me if I can do this. So obviously, I'm going to show that I can do this. But which interview do you even put yourself in front of?
Yeah.
Right? That's your question because you can go get your foot in the door with any number of things. So where is your energy going in your job search and who are you trying to talk to and what conversations do you want to be a part of versus, yeah, I can do a lot of things. I have this variety of conversations and then I have so many stories and versions. I would encourage somebody in that space to just push a little longer and like have a devoted space to exploration. Um, like I personally like to do exploration on its own before job search even begins. Sometimes people do it simultaneously, but if you can, take an extra week or two or three and just say, I'm just learning. I'm just figuring this out. I'm just going to understand these roles. I'm going to compare and contrast. I'm going to reflect, and I'm going to get to a point where I feel really good and excited about that one path. And like give yourself a focused space for it because when we're sort of doing it simultaneously, it feels like never ending. And so you want to say, like, I'm just doing this. I'm going to get to that end goal. I'm going to feel really confident and informed about what these roles are like and what's best for me and what I really want. And then you revisit, how do I go get that thing? Right. So that's what I would hope and encourage. I know sometimes it doesn't always feel like time allows for that, but you'd be surprised taking that little pause to do it and coming back to your job search, it's actually more efficient. So that's the thing. Sometimes people think it's a delay, but it's actually really strategic.
Like stopping to like pause and actually retie your shoes as opposed to just focusing on not tripping yourself for the next 20 miles you're going to keep walking.
Exactly. I love that. Can I like write that down somewhere? Like
You can
that's
have that one. They come out and they're useless. This is one of my
no, that's good. That's
ridiculously
like
like
front
useless
page
skills.
website stuff.
And keep it. It's all yours. Royalty free. All right. Do you think career clarity is about picking the right job title, or do you think it's about identifying the kinds of like problems you want to solve, the impact you want to have? Because I've been told both ways. I've tried to approach it both ways. What do you feel is the difference? Like, what do you think is there an option that's better?
Well, I think it's absolutely both. I think you start with who am I? What am I great at? What am I best at? What am I interested in? What problems do I want to solve? That's the beginning of just getting to know yourself. Then you get to know what are the role titles and what problems do they solve, and you're trying to find the connection. So
Okay.
you're doing both, but you have to really learn about yourself and you have to learn about the world. And you do those two things at the same time. But yes, you cannot ignore the job title level because that is how the world calls it. So you're kind of like, what is the world? So you're like, what do I really want to be doing? And what is that called? Right?
Yeah. Who do I talk to
That's what
about
it
that? Am
is.
I in the right room?
Yeah, right. And the right, I love that. Yes, I always say, are you in the right room? And I remember my first job started in operations, and I was in this room of operations analysts, and we were all laughing at the same dumb jokes. And I was like, I'm in the right room. So, like, it's that, yes, that job title level specificity has to be there. Because that's what you're applying to, and that's what you're getting hired for. There's a
Mhm.
salary, and it's associated. Now, sometimes job titles can be confusing and sometimes there's like synonyms and this job title means a similar thing or a different thing and job titles can be confusing but you still want to get to that level of understanding and maybe you say look it's typically called this or that maybe they mean the same thing they might look have different words when I see it online but I know that that's really the path for me so absolutely
Yeah.
get to that job title level but the root and the initial reflection is what do I actually want to be doing role title is like how do they label this in this public facing way like what is it what are we all talking about how do we label that basically
I mean, granted, I've lived like six lives by now. I think most millennials have, but like when I think about various points in my life, I feel like I've done the like what problems do I want to solve, what impact do I want to have. I feel like I've done that like multiple times over throughout the course of my adulthood. Do you think that that's something we should consistently be doing? Because as I'm listening to you talk about this, I'm thinking both in terms of trying to decide who you are and what you want to do as an adult. So let's say like 25 plus, and then there's all the time that we try to put it on the front of this when we're actually choosing when we're like 18 and have, brains that are made of mashed potatoes. So, do you think that the identifying who you are, what problems you want to solve, do you think that that's something that can start early, can start like high school and that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. It should start early, early and often. So I'll answer this. When you are as a professional, let's call it maybe early 20s, whatever it is, and onwards, it's not like you have to do it necessarily. Okay, here's two ways I'll say it. When you are actively in job transition mode, um, definitely do it before you job search. That is an obvious time. You should do it before you job search. Then when you're in the job, you still want you always want to have clarity on where would I go next. Now, if you're first starting a job, your first 30 days, you don't even need to worry about that. Just do your job well. But once you're there for 3, 6 months, you should be like, what would be next? And that's so important on the job because if you want to grow more senior or you want to try a different team or maybe there's another industry or another company, after a year or two, you want to grow in the proper direction. So you kind of always want clarity. So yes, you are doing this exercise, not like every day, but periodically. When you are in high school and college, yes, you should absolutely start early. And I think in high school and or college, whether you go or whether you don't, let's call it from 18 to 25, whatever it is you're doing with your studies, um, it's it's hard because you don't have a lot of lived and life experience, but you can do a lot of learning. You can have a lot of conversations. Of course, you can shadow, but honestly, the research and the networking by talking to people who are in those jobs is the most important thing if you learn how to have those conversations really well and just have conversations with lots of different people in different jobs. And again, know what to ask them. You're not asking opinions, you're asking facts. You're trying to paint a picture of, what are these jobs in reality? And if you can shadow, great. And then, when you're studying something post high school, try your best to like, if you're in an undergrad program, like I would say every semester, you give yourself a moment or whatever school you're in, you basically say, okay, like for example, on a college campus, like you might say, okay, I could join some clubs, I could have an internship, or I could start a project of my own volition because you could do whatever you want. Or whatever those choice moments are, even within a class, do I have a choice for a project? Whenever you have those choice moments, you want to choose work that seems interesting. And then every few months you say, or every semester, you say, okay, like what was interesting, what wasn't, and how do I iterate? So, if you are at an undergrad or an associate's or whatever program, you have like these semesters where it's like these little chapters of where, okay, next semester I could choose something different. I could choose different classes, different clubs, different internships. And that's the beautiful thing about those younger years. It's like you have a lot of time to kind of experiment and get a lot of exposure. And
Like
so
trying on different
yeah,
things, right? You're not necessarily trying on different lives, but trying to be like, okay, is this comfortable? Can I
yeah.
sit and grow in this
And
space?
I
Or
think
is
the
this already
problem
not
is when we're
comfortable for me?
young, it's like
Yeah.
our family has a huge influence and, they
Well,
want the
whatever
best
you
for
grew up
us.
in, that's what you know.
Right, right. That's all you know. And they don't always know how to best help. And a lot of times we're choosing careers for the wrong reasons at that younger age. So we don't always know like our life priorities, but just know you're not picking something permanently. So your life priority right then and there might be, I really want to learn or I want to do interesting work. And then maybe later you're like, I want to make money. But when people choose a career just for like, I want to make money and you ignore your strengths and your interests, it doesn't usually work out too well because you're a human. So
No,
you
it
need
doesn't.
to you need to like actually care about what you're good at as well as what is a secure path. So exploration is how do I think about all of my priorities, all of my preferences and compare that to what these jobs are. And you're going to find a fit to say, okay, this thing blends my strengths, my interests, and feels secure as well. So, like, that's your goal. You're trying to find that thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I like this. All right, I'm checking the chat to see if there's any other questions y'all have asked, so I'm trying to make sure I get to all of them. Jenny has chimed in. She says she's a freelancer. I get to define my job title. How do I make sure that it's something clients will need, i.e., it's in demand? I love
Mm,
this question. Okay, so you're trying to put your finger on the pulse of what your clients are going to need, but you can't be changing your job title every 3 minutes based on whatever's trending on SEO right now. So
yeah.
how would you approach this issue if you were trying to if you're trying to think of branding yourself in a way that will appeal to the widest market?
Yeah, I mean, it's like any branding and marketing. You can do testing, and maybe there's a few options, and you can talk to your current clients or past clients or prospective clients. Or you could talk to just kind of a random person and just say, oh, like, what's your perception? And maybe you give them some options. And, any typical like user testing, you want to be very open-ended of just like, oh, like, what are your reactions when you see this, right? And you might put a different website in front of them or A/B test it or show them just different titles and just see how they talk out loud. What do they feel? What you could say, what do you think this thing is? Like let them define it, right? So any sort of like testing where you get perceptions and maybe patterns across 10 or 20 people, you'll see how that perception is. And of course, you can look at other people in your field, whether it's competitors or other players, what they call themselves. Um, I think also part of it is just what you want to call yourself. I mean, like for me, like even career coaches, I think there's a lot of sometimes sticky reputations, but like I I don't want to say I don't care. I just like to define it for myself. So if somebody wants to be skeptical about like what a coach does, they would say like, "Oh, like maybe they would ask me questions and I would answer them and I would explain what I do and how I do it." So sometimes there's like words that may be better than others, but like for me, I feel my best definition of what I am is a career exploration coach. So I'm going with it. And like, yeah, sometimes there's broader could be confusion, but I don't know. For me, I'm like, but that's who I am. So if you want to get
Yeah.
to know us, great. And like if not, that's unfortunate. So,
Yeah.
it could be like your
Sure.
choice or it could just be like testing.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Let's talk about not necessarily, it doesn't have to come from a pivoting space, it doesn't even necessarily have to come from like a time away. But if people are looking to shift into different industries or whatever, and they're trying to leverage their past experience, sometimes we struggle with how to do that in a compelling way, right? What do you tell people if they are trying to draw those conclusions or draw those paths between here's what I did before and here's how you know I can do what I say I can do for you?
Yeah. So transferable skills, right? So transferable means have you done it and it's similar, like you can do it in a different way, sort of similarly somewhere else. And that's one piece of it. It's like this is the same style of work. And then it's the language, right? So I always use this example. A teacher could have been grading papers, or they could have been measuring data and measuring performance or measuring trends. So it's like the words you use to describe the same thing, you can describe the same thing in different ways. So you really need to know the language of your target job, and of course, tailor your resume that way. So use the language of your target job, and then of course, just identify any skill gaps because like you might not have every single piece. If you do have every piece, great. Brand yourself that way. But if you have gaps, like I have this skill gap analysis. So, you would map out here's all the requirements. Maybe there's 10 to 15 core requirements for your job. And then you literally map, and I usually do this on a table, like here's the requirements. I'm going to map next to those, literally, here's how I've done this before. And then maybe there's a few rows where you're like, actually, I've never done that thing. So now let's assess priorities for how to fill those skill gaps and build new experiences. But yeah, it's a lot of the language, really. It's like really deeply learn the language for your target roles and just frame your experience that way. I think also job titles, sometimes we are given a job title that's weird, and it's like, what is the best industry standard, accurate way to refer to the work that we did? That's another thing to think about. Or on the resume, using like functional categories. So, say you have like 6 or 8 bullets from a job, can you break those up into little subsections and give it a little skill label? So, maybe you weren't a project manager, but you actually did project management, and you can sort of label those bullets. And that really calls out how you're sort of grouping and naming those skills, even though it wasn't your title, it's a core section of like what you did.
Okay. I like that. All right, we have a couple more minutes to go. I do want to talk a little bit about kind of rapidly transitioning fields. I love how this question was written, actually. In rapidly evolving fields like UX or tech, how do you reposition yourself when the industry shifts faster than your original training anticipated?
Yeah. I mean, we gotta keep up. I mean,
Right.
upskilling is the name of the game right now. And so it's kind of like that skill gap analysis exercise where it's like, what do I need to know? Where do my skills stand right now? And then, okay, maybe there's three gaps. Which is the most important one? And I'm going to work on it and then be really thoughtful as to how you work on your skills, right? There's courses and certifications, but there's also like a self-driven project or pro bono projects or anything like that where it's more project-based work is always great because you're just getting your hands dirty, you're really doing the work. Courses and certifications sometimes can be good, but sometimes they feel more formal or passive. And it's like, are you really firsthand doing that work and can you showcase your work in a portfolio or in a resume? So really networking actually with people also who are doing the work that you want to be doing, who are ahead of the curve already. Like you can chat with them and say, what tools do I need to know? What's the best format of how to learn this? What's worth my time and money, for how to develop these skills. But yeah, we got to understand what the top skills and tools are, and we've got to make time to learn them. And it's a little scary right now how fast things are moving. So I would just, always learn about your field and chat with other people in your field just so you're, staying on top of like where things are headed. And you only need to learn like one thing at a time, right? We're not
Yeah.
superhuman as much as there's AI here. We're still human. So, you can leverage AI to like be faster at this process of learning. But just try to like still keep it simple of like, okay, what's the most important thing I need to learn right now? Spend a little bit of time each week or each month to work through that. So yeah, like just give yourself goals and identifying those goals and spending a little time on it. That's all we can do, right? Like try to be a little gracious with yourself too, because I feel like it's very easy for all of us to always feel behind because
Mhm.
that's just how tech is, the pace, right? So just trying to like give yourself at least one goal at a time.
I like that. Okay. All right. This one is it's not coming from a personal place, but it's definitely coming from I have a lot of friends going through this right now. When applications go unanswered and the motivation drops because we are all on a marathon right now and you cannot sprint the entire time, how should candidates reassess their strategy and rebuild momentum? Because, like, this is a situation where we're trying our best. You do not control the majority of what's going to happen once that application leaves your hand. And it is really easy to take it very personally and feel really bad about yourself real fast
Yeah.
when nothing's happening.
Yeah.
What do you
Well,
recommend
first
people
and
do when they hit
foremost, like have the perspective of exactly what you just said, which is like this is the market right now. So like nothing is really personal. But yeah, it's important to learn how you're doing and to look at yourself and look at your methods and make them better. But we can't always, take it from an emotional place. Again, it's good to look at yourself and learn, but job search requires resilience, patience, and persistence, and creativity and scrappiness, and really just a mental strength every day of picking up the bootstraps every single morning. So try to find also like mindset hacks, like get out of the house, find other peers who you can work alongside of, find things that are motivating, like joining groups or even doing volunteering, like finding projects to work on. Like don't just sit there applying for 10 hours a day, right? So like be busy and do like what I would call career advancement. Who are you meeting? Are you branding yourself? Are you learning new skills? Are you working on stuff like joining groups, getting out of the house? So like really have this balance of where your time is going across this variety of activities that feels more energizing. Like you might start your day by listening to an interesting podcast or reading an article or doing research about your field or something that like is productive and creative. So just sort of like hack your own routine and then just measure and adjust. Like if you're doing too many applications, probably should be doing more networking. So don't do the same thing expecting different results. Try to iterate and adjust and, learn some new methods and just shake it up. That's the thing with job search. It's like the more variety and scrappiness and more people we're meeting and different things we're doing, that will lead to more organic conversations, relationships, opportunities versus like, yeah, online applications are like the traditional obvious thing that we should do, but there's actually other methods that, can be more fruitful.
Okay, we got one question. It just came in last minute. I'm so sorry. I don't want to hold you over. This person says, I'm a software engineer with 11 years experience as an individual contributor. I have a deep interest in mathematics, but I feel stuck in generalist dev roles. How can I gain clarity on whether I should pursue a specialized path like AI or machine learning or algorithm engineering this late in my career versus moving into a more formal architect role? Okay, so this person seemingly knows what their choices are.
Yeah.
Where do you go from here with this person?
So, um, a little bit of online research. You could obviously look at some job postings. You could do some self-reflection. Like I have some exercises where you're comparing two roles side by side. But you also want to network. And if you set up like two or three or four or five calls with people on both sides, you're going to start connecting the dots and you're going to start noticing how you feel while you're listening to them. And you might want to say things like, oh, like where do people typically take this role in the future? So you don't have to know where you're going to go in the future, but what is this going to set you up to do? And obviously, what's the work right now in that role? Like, am I going to enjoy the now? And then where does it set me up to go? Um, but yeah, I mean, it also depends on what your priorities are. It's like ideally you're looking for a fulfillment and a challenge and things that align with your strengths. Maybe there's salary, there could be other things. Do you want to work remote? Like sometimes people have different priorities of like what they're really looking for. So know what you're looking for, learn a ton about both of them, and then you're sort of comparing and contrasting. And, I don't think you're stuck in any one thing, but it's kind of like what feels better right now. So push your exposure to the information. And you may say, I already understand all of this, but sometimes still networking with people will just allow you to see how you feel, even that you totally may already, have that exposure. But learning and reflection leads to clarity. So that's your recipe, that's your formula. And if you're still unsure, do I need to learn more? Do I need to reflect more? Or both? And that will, get you to your point of feeling good one way or another.
I love this. All right. A half hour with you is never enough, but if people are interested in wanting to spend more time with Rachel, what should they know?
Yeah, come to our website. We have a ton of free resources. We always offer a consultation call if you want to chat one-on-one. And we're here for you. Career development, I know it feels overwhelming at times, but getting some guidance, even if it's from a peer, mentor, coach, whoever it may be, like leverage your community. You're not alone in this. I know it can feel daunting and stressful, but we're all here for you and try to, find ways to apply structure and be intentional and taking a step back because all of this stuff can be sorted through. But I think when we're in our own heads, it feels impossible because nobody ever taught anyone how to do this, right? So don't expect yourself to like know all the answers. Like it's good to talk through it with other folks around you, and it will feel a lot more fun that way too. So try not to just be on your own island.
Yes, absolutely. Now, if you are interested in booking a consultation session with Rachel or learning more about Woken, you're going to want to go to their website, www.iamwoken.com. I put it in the chat here. We'll also make sure that it's on the rewatch emails that go out. So absolutely follow up with her if you are at all interested. Having spoken with her many times over the past like 5 years, wonderful person to get in contact with. So thank you so much, Rachel. This has been wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for spending time with us. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, you too, and feel better.
Thank you. I will.
All
All right, y'all. That is it for us today. But go out, have the day you voted for, treat yourself, and be nice to yourself for doing something positive for yourself and your career. It's not easy. Okay. Go be nice to yourself. I'm gonna go have some hot tea, maybe go give yourself a cookie, pat on the back, whatever it is. And cannot wait to see y'all back here for our next event.